Good morning, everyone. If I can get everyone to please take their seats. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Senator Storm.
Present, out of district.
Thank you. Senator Turner. Senator Webb. Senator Wise. Representative Fugate. Representative Heverin.
Present in the room.
Representative Huff. Representative McPherson.
Present in the room.
Representative Pratt.
Present in the room.
Representative Roberts.
Present in the room.
Representative Stevenson.
Present in the room.
Senator McDaniel. Representative Petrie.
Present in the committee room.
Representative Reed.
Here in the room.
Representative Upchurch.
Present in the room.
Co-Chair Higdon. Here in the room. Chair Santoro.
Present in the room. Just a quick reminder for our members that are doing this remotely. Please contact us if you do have a question. At this time, I'm just going to want to take and mention what we just the passing of one of our great members, Senator Tom Buford. Tom was a great member. Suddenly, he passed away yesterday. Senator Higdon, if you would like to make some comments.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And we lost a good one yesterday. Tom Buford passed away in Florida yesterday morning. His family was at his side. He passed away at the age 72, and like I said, 30 plus years in the General Assembly, and he was always had a smile on his face and something witty to say. And he was certainly looking forward to. He made it pretty much official that he wasn't running again, and he was looking forward to those years outside the General Assembly where his phone didn't ring. To close with a Tom Buford-ism, he told his wife yesterday, before he passed away, he wanted this on his tombstone. I knew this was going to happen, but just not this soon. So if you would, let's pause for a moment of silence and remember our friend Tom Buford. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you all for your moment of silence. We appreciate that. I need a motion to approval of the minutes of June the 2nd.
Motion.
We have a second? So moved. So at this time, we're going to start our program. We're going to get everyone out of here within 1 hour. But we started a minute late, so give me 12:01, please. Okay? And that was because of technical difficulties. Our members are all here. Secretary Gray, would you please step forward? Have your people. Yes, go ahead. We know who you are, but please announce yourself. Would you move your mic a little closer to you? Is it on?
There we go.
There it is. Yes, now it is.
It's been a while since you've been here.
It has been a while, yes.
Welcome. No mask. We get to see everybody. Go ahead.
All right. My name is Robin Brewer. I'm the budget director in the Transportation Cabinet. So today I'm going to just do a very, very brief presentation, I promise. This is a topic I've talked to the committee about before, so it should look somewhat familiar to you. So I really just have 2 slides here for you today. And the first one is the shows you a historical graph of the road funds that have been directly appropriated to other agencies and needs back since fiscal year 2001 and through fiscal year 2022. And so since that time, over about $1.9 billion in road funds have been diverted to other agencies and needs. And so those haven't been available for transportation needs. So as you can see in this graph, the trend was starting to go up more and more and more until recently, beginning in 2021. It's started to drop off, and it dropped off even more in fiscal year 2022. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in the next slide. But again, I just want to remind everybody, this chart is showing direct appropriations. So that basically means it's road funds that were directly appropriated either in the executive branch budget bill or in the transportation budget bill. So in this slide, again, I think you all have seen this before. I've updated this for fiscal year 2022 estimates. Now this includes direct road fund appropriations as well as just other road funds that go to other agencies for various items. As you can see up there on the right side of the chart, I've kind of specified which ones are direct road fund appropriations, either in an executive branch budget bill or Kytc bill. And you can see there are several on there that don't have anything in them. They're blank. But I've left them on here because up until FY 2022, historically, we have had road funds appropriated to those other agencies. So back during the 2021 legislative session, when you all were working on basically a one-year budget because of COVID, there was some look at the existing fiscal year that we were currently in to see if any adjustments needed to be made from a budget perspective. And at that time, $30 million was reduced from the direct road fund appropriation to Kentucky State Police for FY 2021. So their road fund appropriation went from about $98.5 million to $68.5 million in 2021. I believe those were replaced maybe with some federal stimulus funds. And so in doing that, while you all were also working on the budget for fiscal year 2022, there was also a reduction in road fund expenditures going to other agencies. And that's what you're seeing here. The areas where there's not anything, no road funds were appropriated for FY 2022. In addition to that, the number there for KSP, or Kentucky State Police, is $48.4 million. Before the reductions last year, that was about $98 million. So for FY 2022, basically $57 million is going to Justice and Public Safety Cabinet for Kentucky State Police and commercial vehicle enforcement and enforcement on the roadways. So that's $57 million. Back in FY 2020, I think that was about $105 million. So it was significantly less. I won't go through every item on this list. That's obviously pretty lengthy. I did want to touch on just some of the higher dollar items and kind of what they're used for. So after we've talked about those initial funds for justice and public safety, there's also about $5 million that goes to Energy and Environment Cabinet for the Kentucky Pride Fund. That is in statute, and it's for litter abatement and basically beautification of the roadways. There's also about $6.8 million that is budgeted for rent and electricity for the Transportation Cabinet office building. About almost $21 million is estimated for the Commonwealth of Technology, or COT's, costs for their work and services that they provide to the Cabinet to assist with achieving our mission. Approximately $9.3 million is estimated for fleet charges for the Cabinet's use and maintenance of almost 1,800 fleet vehicles used across the state. And so the estimated total of all these expenses is about $110 million. And that's almost, or about 7% of what our enacted road fund revenue estimate for fiscal year 2022 is. And that concludes my presentation, unless you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Does any members? Representative Petrie?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very quickly, one, thank you. Number two, so we should have about an extra $55 million or so in the road fund from this last budget cycle, which was unexpected at that point in time, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
All right. Out of the list that you have up on the screen right now, are there any that the agency would look at and go, and you can share this offline if you need to, not sure why we're continuing to deduct money out of the road fund for payment of these particular expenses? As in, they shouldn't come out of the road fund, which would increase the amount that stays in the road fund. I'd be interested to know if the cabinet has any perspective on that. Can share that offline if you so choose.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't have an opinion either way, but I do think that it's important to look at, where our road fund dollars are going. I mean, we get asked all the time, where are these dollars going? They're taxpayer dollars. And I think that some things it's more obvious where those dollars go, and other things not so much. So I always think it helps, to look at where every dollar is going.
I would be interested if someone can help me on the things that are questionable, and you can do that whenever. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Co-Chair Higdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Robin, thank you for being here today. And
Sure.
I do have a question about the Kentucky Pride payment. Wasn't that originally set up to be $2.5 million out of our funding and the environmental cabinet to match that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
As long as I've been here, it's always been $5 million coming from transportation cabinet.
Okay. And the way I like to look at that, you said it was 7%. It's close to 4 cents a gallon, or four pennies.
Mm-hmm.
And as we look at 26 cents being tremendously short of what we need to properly do our transportation system, we're giving 4 cents away to other agencies. Of course, some of it does belong there, but and I do want to thank Chairman Petrie and Chairman McDaniel for working with us on the state police to reduce what the road fund was paying there, and I think going forward the road fund will pay its fair share and not carry the most of the load. So I'm very thankful to them. And we've talked openly about Chairman Petrie about some of these issues, and I think we'll address them in some later meetings and have some of these folks like from the Artisan Center to come in and why do they need $800 and some $1,000 from the transportation budget, and then we some of, like I said, some of those issues. And then one we've often asked about, if you look down driver's education and traffic school, Colorado State Patrol, $1 million. We want to know about that a little bit, and we've talked about those issues, and so we will continue to talk about them. Because it is important that we watch these funds that are designated for transportation, that we keep them strictly for the transportation purposes. So thank you, Robin. I appreciate it, and appreciate you listening to my rant. Thank you.
Any other members have any questions? I know we're going to work on this. Got to remember our cost of material and labor keeps going up, and since 2001 they've been robbing transportation to balance the general fund budget. We're going to really keep looking at this. I just have one thing. $1.9 billion in road funds. I have a bridge in North Kentucky. It's not going to be quite that much. So it's always on my mind, people. But Robin, thank you very much. We're going to really work on this session with Senator McDaniel and Representative Petrie. I think we're going to have a good team to try and shore you people up and get some good funding and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Next on our agenda, Mr. Secretary, please come up, introduce yourself. Yes, sir. We have a new member coming in. to talk.
And I will introduce.
Turn your mic on,
And
sir.
I will introduce Tracy in just a minute. Chairman Petrie, I'll say in a shorthand answer is that we'll take all the resources that you can muster for us. How's that? All right. Mr. Chairman, thanks for inviting us to be here. And Chairs Upchurch and Higdon, thank you all. And members of all the members of the committee, thank you all for inviting us to be with you today. You know, this conversation, in my view, is really about two things: economic opportunity and safety. And just hold with that as we go through this presentation today. And I want to begin by thanking the legislature, and certainly thanking Governor Beshear for introducing the reorganization of the Secretary's Office of Safety in the Transportation Cabinet. The legislature codified the governor's recommendation, and just give a little bit of background for that. Our strategic plan is to promote safety across all programs at the cabinet. And our goal in creating this office was to illuminate safety internally within our own workforce, within our own employees, especially those on the front line, to illuminate safety internally so that we could do an even better job of creating a culture of safety outside, illuminating it inside so we could create even a better awareness and culture of safety for the driving public. And so I want to acknowledge and thank you all for that. Safety is the operative word here, and it segues into my introduction of Tracy Novacic. Now, Tracy is Assistant State Highway Engineer, and she has 17 years now, right, Tracy? 16, 17 years of a record in the cabinet, in the Department of Highways. She joined Kytc in 2004, licensed as a professional engineer in 2005. She's a Wisconsin native and a graduate of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Her previous roles before Assistant State Highway Engineer included Operations and Pavement Management, then Director of Maintenance. And within the cabinet, she's recognized as a subject matter expert on performance management and on data-driven decisions.
I was busy.
I'm sorry. Was that?
Yeah, just in my calling. I'm on conference call, but I don't have.
Okay.
Hear me talking.
I was like,
okay.
Senator Turner, you're live and in color here. You need to mute your microphone, please.
All right.
Continue, Mr. Secretary. Sorry about that.
With that in mind, that's all right. Things happen, technical. All right. So Tracy is not just a skilled and highly regarded engineer. She is also a mother. She lives with her husband, Kevin, and two children, Elena and Kai, in Georgetown. So she is very, very busy. All right. Now, in the spirit, a lot of you all know this, of course, being in politics and government, that old aphorism, that old maxim about speaking, you know how it goes? It says, tell them first what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. So I'm going to do a little bit of that by giving a bit of a preview of what Tracy's going to introduce through her slides. Tracy's message to the committee today is that Kentucky has a vast and extremely valuable transportation infrastructure valued at more than $50 billion. At the same time, it is a steadily aging infrastructure. It's showing its age in many ways. Our current maintenance funding is not sufficient to keep up. Some key points. Kentucky has over 9,000, in fact 9,069 counting today, state-maintained bridges, the seventh largest network in the country. 63,900, let's say 64,000 lane miles of pavement, which is the eighth largest network in the country, with a combined value of $53 billion. Yet, 30% of our pavement is in poor condition. 534 bridges in poor condition. One bridge out of 7 is older than the national average. The cost to immediately bring all poor pavements and bridges up to fair or good is $2 billion. The strains on our maintenance budget, 2021 winter storms and flooding, they ate up 20% of the budget. As you all know, our weather is getting more severe, not less. Road and bridge upkeep is a data-driven process, and the factors for deciding maintenance priorities include mobility, risk, and road condition, pavement condition. Available dollars are stretched today. KYTC has reduced overall pavement needs by $500 million within 4 years, but $750 million a year to improve state-owned roads and bridges, and $500 million a year just to maintain the status quo. Maintenance operating budget has been reduced 52% since 2010. Now, what does this mean for travelers? It means more decline or deterioration and more disruption, and at the end of the day, increased costs. All right, now for Tracy, who is going to tell us. Tracy is going to dig into a lot of the details now. Tracy.
All right. Thank you, Secretary. And thank you, Chairman Santoro, and members of the Budget Review Subcommittee on Transportation for allowing me the opportunity to speak with you today. I hope today I can leave you with a better understanding of our infrastructure needs statewide, but also a better understanding that the men and women of KYTC are dedicated professionals that are working every day to find improvement and make the best decisions possible for our friends and neighbors and the traveling public at large. The first thing I want to impress upon you is that Kentucky owns and maintains an enormous transportation system. We own and maintain over 9,000 state-owned structures, which is the 7th largest bridge network in the nation, and over 63,000 lane miles of pavement, which is the 8th largest system in the nation.
Senator Turner, you are on. Could you mute your phone, please? Sorry, Tracy.
Okay, sorry.
Ready? All right. Our transportation infrastructure is an enormous asset, and it's valued at over $53 billion. Maintaining the system in a state of good repair is essential for providing a safe and reliable transportation network that delivers economic opportunity and enhances the quality of life for all of our citizens. KYTC Maintenance facilitates travel across our transportation infrastructure through 2 major tasks. One is preservation, which is the routine care of our infrastructure, and the second is operations, which keeps our traffic moving. First, we'll take a look at the preservation needs for the state. Today, the Kentucky pavement network is near 30% poor condition, and that equates to about 8,800 lane miles of pavement in poor condition. If we were to go out today and treat all of those lane miles in poor condition, it would cost us an estimated $1 billion. Our bridge network is 14% older than the national average, and that means there are about 534 bridges listed as in poor condition. Again, to go out today and treat all of those bridges in poor condition, it would cost an additional $1 billion. So when you look at condition numbers, it can be really instinctive to want to manage the poorest condition pavements and bridges first. However, managing only the poor condition bridges and pavements would send large amounts of money to only a few select locations. That kind of worst first strategy creates an endless cycle of increasing needs, and it's effectively a strategy like the dog chasing the tail. Today, both our bridges and pavements show a trend of decreasing good condition and increasing fair condition. And that large number of fair condition structures and pavements shows us a greater urgency for preservation funding. Now we'll talk a little bit about the operations side of maintenance that keeps Kentucky traffic moving. Providing mobility to our citizens during extreme weather events makes our operating budget extremely fragile. Kentucky faced a difficult winter this past season. The February ice storms cost Kentucky approximately $2 million per day over the course of 2 weeks just for snow and ice removal alone. The flooding that followed impacted 94 of our 120 counties and cost an additional $7 million. Together, that means that Kentucky spent 20% of our maintenance operating budget in just 1 month. The debris cleanup that is still ongoing from both of these events is estimated to cost an additional $20 million. I want to take a minute to talk to you about our decision-making processes for maintenance. Maintenance has long used a data-driven process to select projects by maintenance and deterioration concerns. Our next generation prioritization will include mobility and risk along with condition, and it will be almost like a shift process, except for maintenance. When we are considering mobility for pavements and bridges, what we'll be looking at is what is the detour associated with that asset? What is the average daily traffic? What is the average daily truck traffic? Is it a school bus route, and is it an emergency route? When we look at risk for our bridges and pavements, we'll be looking at, on the bridge side, if it has fracture critical components, what is the scour criticality, and what is the inspection cycle. And for pavements, we'll be looking at friction and other safety considerations. And then we'll be taking our condition data from our bridge and pavement inspections. Together, selecting projects through these 3 components will allow us to have more impact for each dollar spent. Kytc also uses data to ensure we are effectively managing our roads and bridges and maintaining the best condition possible for our travelers. In 2016, a projection of our pavement repair needs showed us hitting a backlog of $1.5 billion by 2020. This was an alarming number for us, but through better management processes and increased preservation, we were able to reduce the overall pavement needs by $500 million in just 4 years. Better management of our roads and bridges allows us to seek out a greater return on our investment while continuously pushing for improvement. This helps us redirect our dollars to other capital improvements and needs that benefit our smaller communities. The funding required to maintain our roads and bridges is substantial. A common mistake is to look at the unfunded needs, that $2 billion, and divide it by a number of years, say 10, to get the number of funding needed over the course of 10 years. But that fails to account for the constant aging of our infrastructure and the number of structures and lane miles that fall into the poor condition each year. Today, our engineers estimate that it will take approximately $500 million annually to maintain the current condition of our state-owned roads and bridges, and $750 to improve the conditions of our state-owned roads and bridges. Beyond preservation of our roads and bridges, our operations budget is needed for those tasks which keep our traffic moving. If you account for inflation, the operation budget has been reduced by 52% within a decade. This limits our buying power, which often forces us to transfer resources to our higher capacity facilities, such as interstates and parkways during weather events. Restoration of this budget would provide us greater flexibility and allow us to better respond to the needs on our lower capacity roads. Without sufficient funding for maintenance and operations, our travelers will experience deteriorating conditions, more disruptions, and increased costs. In 2020, there were over 20 emergency bridge needs and subsequent repairs, and 29 bridge closures statewide. Today, that number is on track to surpass for this year. We also saw flooding events earlier this year close over 570 roads. That can be attributed to slides, but also unaddressed drainage needs statewide. Repairing aging infrastructure is often costly and complicated, and the methods required can be disruptive to traffic. Temporary repairs are sometimes put in place to get traffic moving again, but it still leaves a need for a more permanent fix that needs to be addressed. Our funding must address those needs, those immediate needs, but also system conditions. We have to be careful to avoid spending dollars that only impact a limited number of projects and therefore only a limited number of communities. And I'll just give you 2 examples of the types of needs that we try to balance with our overall system conditions. The first one I'll talk about a little is the Simon-Kenton Bridge. For me, my daughter often shows her horse in central Ohio, and the Simon-Kenton Bridge is the first glimpse of home after a long week working in a barn with her. But unfortunately, in 2019, we found damaged hanger cables on the bridge, leading to the city of Maysville. We put a short-term repair in place, but a more comprehensive cable repair project is needed. With the companion bridge next door, the Harsha Bridge, it is hard to justify the needs of this bridge over some of the other structures on our network. So this means until we can get that greater cable repair project scheduled, this bridge will likely be subjected to a cycle of inspection, closing, repairing. Another example is I-24 in Christian County. That's an immediate need that emerged quickly for us. The failing pavement in Christian County was an identified need in the out years of our 6-year plan. However, the concrete slabs experienced a rapid failure due in part to underlying drainage issues. Now we will have to put a temporary repair in place to keep traffic moving through the winter, while a more extensive full-depth repair is designed and put in place. And this will divert funding from other needs on our already long list of pavement. So in closing, we just want to address the 4 questions that were originally asked of us today. The current unfunded needs on the state-owned pavement and bridge system total an estimated $2 billion. $500 million annually is needed to maintain the current conditions on our state-owned roads and bridges. $750 million is annually needed to improve our conditions on our state-owned roads and bridges. And without sufficient funding, our travelers will experience deteriorating conditions, more disruptions, and increased costs. Thank you.
Do any members have any questions? Very good presentation. Senator Higgins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here today. I just wanted the newer members to this committee, some that might not, just FYI, if you look at the chart to the routine maintenance buying power, if you go back to that, it's back toward about middle ways back. You see the 2010, the bar graphs, and then all the way over to 2020. I'm not exactly sure what the tax rate was in 2010, but I can tell you for sure that in 2011 it was 25.9 cents. Fast forward to 2020, it's 26 cents a gallon. So pretty much identical tax rate was 11, 12 years ago, and it's still, well, it's I guess 12 years now, going on 12 years. With the same tax rate, and I'm pretty sure the costs have gone up over that period of time, and consumption has remained the same. So we're collecting, not only is the rate the same, we're collecting about this. The gallons used are the same because miles driven is up, fuel efficiency is lower, much higher now. With the CAFE standard. So it's kind of the perfect storm. We're using the same, we're getting the same amount of money, but costs continue to go up. And our formula, we had a decrease in the gas tax, 2015, and our formula has not kicked in and done anything to offset the inflationary increases we've had since 2015. So if you wonder why we're having shortages, I just wanted to give you kind of that's the perfect storm. That's the hand we're dealt. And I appreciate Secretary Gray and his cabinet for squeezing those pennies and make them go as far as they can. And so just wanted to thank you all. And for our newer members, just a kind of an update on how we got to where we are. We're the status quo. We're maintaining, but costs continue to increase and needs continue to increase as our infrastructure ages.
Mr. Chairman,
go ahead.
If I could just expand and maybe amplify on what Senator Higdon had to say. Just in the short time that I've been in this job, I've looked at a lot of graphs and charts, and one of the most disturbing ones is what Senator Higdon's describing, because in 2015, 2016, the numbers were generating 180 million more annually before the decline. So over the past 5-6 years, we've actually lost in absolute dollars almost $1 billion. Now, sort of think of it as a trend line. So we got that trend line that's headed downward, south. And then we've got the trend line for highway construction. The highway construction cost index has increased over that same period about 35%. And it's increased, as no news to anybody here, that we're seeing just really unprecedented price escalations right now throughout the construction industry. So, yes, just to punctuate what Senator Higdon said, that does illustrate that kind of perfect storm as you described it. And we are, and this is something that Deputy Secretary Hancock says often, that we will do our best to use all the resources that we're given. But it is a stretch these days.
Thank you. Representative Petrie.
Thank you, Chairman. Look at the second to the last slide, current unfunded needs. Starts off with that. Yep.
Right.
Secretary, how much money do you have to maintain and improve annually? How much money do you have available to you through the road fund to maintain and improve roads in Kentucky? Ballpark?
Are you good with that one?
I have what we spent last year. I can read that for you.
An approximate number will be good.
Yep.
Oh, I know where it is.
A lot of numbers there.
Yeah, I brought a lot of numbers with me. Last year we spent approximately $400 million on our state-owned bridges and pavements.
So $400 million available to you last fiscal year to do that.
Year.
Okay. And then I'm just trying to make sure I understand this one slide. That's all. Okay. Right. So we got $400 million in a year available. And if I'm looking at this right, we have $500 million annually needed to maintain current conditions. So this is not new projects. These are not new roads. These are not those type things. This is just to maintain what we have, current condition. Not to make it better, just to maintain it, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so about $100 million more than what you had available last year. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Then I'm looking at the third one, $750 million annually needed to improve conditions. Again, I'm not catching this, and I'm trying to, for clarity's sake. This is not new roads and new bridges, new projects. This is to improve the condition of existing roads and bridges. Is that correct?
Correct.
So just on maintaining and then trying to improve somewhat insufficient conditions on those existing structures, you're looking at about $500 million plus $750 million on a $400 million budget.
No, I think
we're close?
I think we're looking at 400 as the base.
400 is the base, yes.
Right.
Okay.
So
Well, I'm trying to go. Then help me
add
with this.
100,
You've
right.
got this amount of money.
Right.
Okay. You've got a certain amount going to maintain and certain amount to improve conditions of what we're maintaining. I'm just trying to figure out. So how much are you short? $1?
So
$100 million? What are we short?
750 would encompass. It's not in addition to the budget to maintain.
Okay. So you were looking at 750 million a year to maintain and improve
Correct.
existing infrastructure.
Correct.
Okay, but
So
you got about 400 million last year.
350 more.
Okay, understand. Now that has nothing to do with the first paragraph on that slide, correct?
That's right.
We've got $2 billion estimated on state-owned pavement and bridge systems that I assume are insufficient, deteriorating, in need of repair above and beyond what we're talking about on those annual, or does this account on the annual numbers?
This accounts for the annual numbers.
Okay.
So in order to attack that backlog, we would need about $750 million a year to go after that $2 billion and start making improvements.
Because you can't do it all in 1 year.
Correct.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So 750 is the ask. 750 million a year is the ask. If you were going to maintain and improve conditions on existing structures and not build anything new, is that what I'm hearing?
Which represents 350 additional.
Correct.
Over what we have today.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just wanting to make sure that I understand
Yeah.
it and everybody else understands what the existing flow is of about 400 million. If you look at maintaining and improving the conditions, not new projects,
Correct.
there'd be an additional 350 million a year needed to do that, and that would help us over a long period of time tackle the 2 billion estimated in cost of bad structures in need of repair.
Correct.
Am I getting that correct?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
Good clarification, Mr. Representative. Thank you.
Thank you. We're just a little bit short there. I do have a couple questions. You went back to the slides with the ice storm and the flooding and all. So will we receive some federal funding?
We will receive some federal funding, but the federal funding is a slow reimbursement process, so we have to carry those costs. And of those costs, we cannot get reimbursed for any snow and ice removal costs.
Oh, we do not?
No.
Oh, okay. I was hoping we did. I'm looking for any federal money we can get. You guys are doing a great job. So I'm trying anything else. Does anyone... You're doing great, Tracy. Yeah, see, first time we're going to invite you back more and more. Does anyone else have any more questions to Tracy? I did. This is pretty interesting, people. I mean, you guys keep up the good work. Go ahead, Representative Haven.
As usual, I like to end on a positive note. But I was on Facebook lately. I live in the 18th district. I represent the 18th district, so all of Grayson County and part of Hardin County. And I've seen a lot of constituents kind of complain about the road work going on. And I was driving down the WK the other day. I've driven to Owensboro and to Elizabethtown in the last few weeks, and I kind of just smiled and I thought, what a blessing this is that we have road work. A year ago we had no road work, and we were, obviously we're always complaining about the conditions of the road, but what perspective to realize that we've got money coming into our economy that is allowing us to have lettings. And so I thank you all for starting lettings again and making sure that our road work is getting completed. I know that's part of us helping with the funding on that, but it was just some perspective rather than complaining about having to deal with road work. Just being thankful that we're actually able to see improvements of the road work, and just kind of giving grace and being thankful we've got workers that are helping get the road conditions better. So just ending on a positive note, as you drive home through construction, be grateful for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman Higdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My favorite color, my favorite thing is orange barrels. I've grown to love them. I'd love to see those pop up all over the state. They're much needed. But Mr. Secretary, we with the help of Chairman Petrie and Chairman McDaniel and the budget, we in this past the budget that just ended, we got I think additional $60 million for pavement management for you. and $120 million additional dollars for construction in this biennium or the budget we're in now. Are you able to get those that money out the door and spending that?
The good news is that lettings are up north. Our projection for the year is lettings will be north of $800 million, and that's up from $690 last year. There's optimism that we may be able to get more than that in lettings, in terms of lettings. And in terms of maintenance, yes, dialing up as we speak every day.
I was going to ask you, Mr. Secretary, if your crystal ball was working. And if you anticipate in this infrastructure deal they're working on in Washington, that we might see some money from that.
Well, and we were talking about that just before the meeting. And even if we get some funding through a federal package, we're still going to need, their needs are greater than what we expect that we may be able to achieve. You know, that number could be, whatever it is, rather than speculating on what it might be, whatever it may be, we're going to be needing resources. And I wish I could say that, you know, it's more of one time, as you know, right. Even though it'll be spread over years, a few years, it's more of a one-time stimulus.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
I'm not going to let you go yet.
Okay.
Shelley, you're all going to get up here. I guarantee it.
Oh, that's
I
right.
said 12:01, man. This is too important for the people. Representative Petrie, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Higdon mentioned the approximate $60 million additional that was left in the road fund. Of that money, is there a way to relate to me whether that's for maintenance or whether that's going through discretionary spending or whether that's going into new projects? Or I would hope with the amount of maintenance that we just discussed in the $500 million and $750 million annually that it's going almost exclusively toward maintaining rather than discretionary or new projects.
I believe it is, Mr. Representative, but I want to confirm that with Mike and Ron. Guys, that is correct, right? Yeah, it is focused on maintenance.
Okay, would you mind, is it possible to get to Chairman and myself or the committee members what that extra money, that approximately $60 million is being used for, designated
absolutely.
For?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very
much. We'll sure do it.
Very good. I don't know if our members know, but last year, and this is a plug for our highway contractors, because they took some of these projects on knowing they were going to have delay in payment or something.
That's right.
And they were willing to work for us. And, you know, that is great for a company to go out there knowing I'm not going to get paid in September. It may be December. So I'm just giving a shout out to those guys.
That's true. That is certainly accurate, Mr. Chairman, that payments were delayed. It was fortunate that they weren't delayed as long as it could have been. But you are right that the industry did step up in that respect.
Very good. Thank you all.
Yes,
no further comments. We appreciate you all being here. Next on the agenda is Shelley Hampton, Director of Government Affairs, Kentucky Association of Counties. She's just going to come up here and tell me how great everything is. She didn't hear that. You want to come up both? Okay. And also Brianna Carroll, Director of Public Affairs for Kentucky League of Cities. So they are both going to be here.
Okay, you know what? When you get finished with this. I don't have PowerPoint. Oh, yeah, they're just handouts.
When you are ready, just go ahead, identify yourself, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Shelley Hampton, Director of Government Affairs for the Kentucky Association of Counties.
I'm Brianna Carroll, the Director of Public Affairs for the Kentucky League of Cities.
And we will be mindful of the clock, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Co-Chairman Santoro, Co-Chairman Higdon, thank you all, members of the committee, for the invitation to share some of the examples of the current status of county roads. For several sessions now, road funding has been a top priority for our members, I think, as all of you all know. We do want to thank the legislature for their efforts to try to keep more road fund money in the road fund. Let's see if I can do this. The state road fund is one part of the equation for county roads and bridges, with the responsibility for upkeep of half of all the roads in Kentucky and a third of all the bridges in our state. Counties are fully vested in maintaining and, where possible, improving the roads that move our people and our products. And as you know, no stranger to some of these statistics. Out of the various funding sources that make up Kentucky's $1.5 billion state road fund, the major source of Kentucky's road fund is that motor fuels tax. That makes up about half of all the receipts. Motor vehicle usage tax, that's pretty important to remember. Motor vehicle usage tax is a close second, comprising about 34% of funding. It's extremely important to counties. And, of course, to our friends in the cities, where that increase in the overall road fund actually comes from. That motor vehicle usage tax has been the driver in recent times of that overall increase, of which counties and cities receive nothing. Only the motor fuels tax, which is capped at 10% growth a year, is shared directly with counties, and motor fuels have declined by 15% since 2008. Oh, a little ahead, sorry. While counties continue to stretch dollars and to continue to look for efficiencies at the local level, the challenges remain. For example, in Crittenden County in the west, they've had to take some chip and seal roads back to gravel. That is definitely not the direction any of us want our roads in. In Kenton County, their general fund contribution out of local dollars has increased by 20% in just 4 years to over $2 million annually. Costs continue to increase, as Todd County recently found with their asphalt bid price, which was last year around $60,000 to $65,000 per mile. Now that has been increased to $80,000 per mile. Hardin County, with its 562 miles of roads, has budgeted over $4 million for their road department in FY22. However, the dollars available for road work are $600,000 below what they were in 2014. So for the 7th consecutive year, the county fiscal court will cut their annual asphalt work, and this year by 40% over last year's numbers. Harlan County in the east has 630 county road miles they are responsible for. In 2016, their county road aid totaled $1.6 million. In 2021, it was $1.2 million, a 25% reduction. The purchasing power of dollars, as the Secretary alluded to earlier, continues to shrink as we push sorely needed infrastructure improvements down the road. Just maintaining what we have at the state and local level will take an annual funding increase statewide of 2 to 3%. This does not allow for us to consider new projects, only maintaining what we have in place now. The official road fund revenue estimate for FY21 called for an increase of 5.8%. As of April's third quarter numbers, revenues would have to increase almost 24% in that last quarter to meet that estimate. In Crittenden County, the school system had to adjust bus routes due to lack of suitable roads. Emergency services vehicles have to use longer routes in certain areas of their county due to bridge closures and weight reductions. The Federal American Rescue Plan that was passed in March will definitely bring a lot of one-time, much-needed, but very restricted funding for a very specific list of allowable expenditures. All have to be related back to COVID-19 response. So obviously that will not solve our transportation problems. Kentucky needs sustainable long-term solutions that will address both our current needs as well as look ahead at the technological transportation advances already on the market in order to keep our roads safe, continue to improve the quality of life for our people, and remain economically competitive with our neighbors in the global marketplace. Thank you.
Our 63-member board for the Kentucky League of Cities stretches all across the state. They just recently met in June to approve our 2022 agenda. And again, modernization of transportation funds is a top priority for our organization. Our populations continue to grow in our cities. 55% of the state's population currently resides within city limits. but the state and federal funds only provide about 1/3 of the cost for maintaining those streets. Since 2009, our cities have spent more than 62% more on our city streets, and the federal funding has declined more than 4%. We hear a lot about the American Rescue Plan Act funds and how our cities are receiving so much money, but it's important to remember that those are one-time funds and they are very limited in how we spend those. The money cannot be spent on streets and bridges except in very limited situations, and the one-time money does not address the structural issues that are related to our ongoing needs. Our municipalities are now responsible for more than 10,000 miles of public streets. Senator Higdon alluded to cost increase. That also goes towards those city streets. City streets are very expensive to build and maintain. There's ADA requirements on the sidewalks, stormwater drains, underground utilities, bike lanes, traffic sensors, and also more extensive milling. Just one ADA ramp can cost approximately $2,700, and as you all know, most streets have more than one ramp. Cities spend more than $340 million a year just to maintain and build our streets. Fixing all of our current transportation needs in Kentucky would require roughly $75 million more each year, and that is in addition to the millions that are needed for the state projects that were referenced earlier, and the additional dollars needed for one-time mega projects that are important to our city and the state, such as the Brent Spence Bridge. Kentucky also needs an estimated $35 million per year to modernize and maintain the other transportation areas that are important to cities, such as the transit and the river ports. As Shelley alluded to, just to maintain our current level, we would need to increase 2 to 3% per year. The motor fuels tax is the only portion of the road fund that is shared with local governments to ensure the maintenance and the construction of community streets and bridges. That formula that is provided to us is the local portion that also needs to be modernized. That formula of fifths, which we've also provided the handouts, is detailed on one of the handouts. That was established in 1948, and the legislature created the Municipal Road Aid Program in 1972. So that's 48 years that it has not been modernized despite population shifts and growth. We need safe and reliable streets for our bridges and our entire state to prosper. It helps, obviously, with economic development. Our traffic volume has increased 5% since 2013. Since 2011, our commute times have increased by 6.3%, and the average driver in Kentucky spends approximately $444 a year in the cost of driving on our streets in need of repair. We want to make sure that it doesn't appear that we're just asking for a handout and more money. We are doing our best at the local level, but we are also revenue limited. As you all know, the Constitution prevents us from raising revenue beyond a couple ways, such as occupational tax and property tax, and so we really appreciate your support for us and trying to help our communities.
I'm just going to make a comment. You know, the county judges and the mayors, they get it firsthand. You know, they hear from the people. You know, we have potholes, we need this, we need that. And they only have so much money. And I know, you know, I'm well aware of it. It's a big problem. You presented very well. Do we have any members have any comments, questions or anything? I know these are challenges. You know, we're going to have to work together. Appreciate it very much for you all coming and testifying. If not, I think that is the last one on our agenda. But thank you all very much for coming. We'll entertain the motion to adjourn. We have a second? We are now adjourned. Thank you all.